From Recorded Future News and PRX, this is Click Here.
But before we do start a call, I just want to give you an introduction about myself and our team. So my name is Benson. I'm currently part of...
That's the voice of an actual hacker, not a voiceover or a recreation. And he's in mid-scam.
Years now, and my background is mix of tech and crypto. And joining alongside me, co-authoring this piece is Alex.
We rarely get to hear something like this. No modulated voice, just a guy pretending to be a journalist looking to take over someone's computer. He's from a hacker group called Elusive Comet, and they don't use 0 days or ransomware. Their weapon of choice is charm and Zoom. And in a world of remote work and screen shares, that can be pretty dangerous.
It's hard to pay attention to all these hacks because there's just so many of them. So like bringing up an individual like, oh, this person got hacked. Well, like, yeah, him and like 10,000 other people.
From Recorded Future News and PRX, this is Click Here's Mic Drop, a longer listen to one of our favorite interviews of the week. I'm Dina Temple-Raston. And today, we talk to one of the people who was targeted by Elusive Comet, Dan Guido. He's a cybersecurity expert. He runs red teams. He fights nation-state hackers. And yet, the Elusive Comet hackers took aim at him anyway.
Yeah, to any hackers out there listening, not a strategy I would recommend.
Stay with us. Click Here is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states. Support for Click Here comes from the Electronic Frontier Foundation. For 35 years, the EFF has been fighting to make sure that when you go online, your rights go with you. And they have a podcast. It's called How to Fix the Internet. And it's all about getting things right in our online world. Season 6 kicked off May 7th with an episode exploring the concept of digital autonomy. The fight for digital rights is bigger and more urgent than ever. EFF is at the forefront of that battle. And because it's member-supported, the more members they have, the more they can fight for our digital rights in state houses, in courthouses, and everywhere. Visit EFF.org/podcast to listen to How to Fix the Internet and join EFF. I'm Dina Temple-Raston, and this is Click Here's Mic Drop. Dan Guido runs a cybersecurity company with a curious name, Trail of Bits.
I like the name. There's a lot to like about it. There's a long story about that. It's like alternately Ancient Mayan death chant. It's like a punk rock band. Fun little play on words to describe the trail of digital evidence that you leave behind on computers.
It's a company trusted by the likes of DARPA, Facebook, and a variety of crypto platforms. So you'd think that would put him off limit to hackers. It didn't. A few months ago, Dan Guido got a message on Twitter. Someone claiming to be a reporter from Bloomberg Crypto wanted to set up an interview over Zoom. Now, Bloomberg Crypto is a real thing, a unit of Bloomberg News focused on digital currencies, blockchain tech, and the billionaires who orbit them. In other words, a perfectly plausible place for someone like Dan to appear. So, at first, he was flattered. A journalist wanted to talk to him about crypto? Of course they did. And then the flattery wore off. And the flags, the red ones, started to wave.
The fact that a Bloomberg News person wouldn't talk over text, wouldn't talk over Signal, wouldn't talk over email, they really insisted on Twitter DMs, or Telegram. They said, oh yeah, or we'll do Telegram, which is like a huge red flag. And then the email confirmation from a Gmail address, like, I don't think so.
He was pretty sure this guy asking for an interview wasn't on the up and up, but Dan was intrigued. So he agreed to talk to him over Zoom and pulled out an old Chromebook to take the call.
And I was ready to join a call and record it on a device that I thought would be impenetrable.
But the hackers never showed. So Dan got to work figuring out who had targeted him. And he discovered that he'd been targeted in a hacking campaign launched by Elusive Comet.
I did figure out what they were up to, which was sort of shocking to me.
At the heart of their methods is this, a feature built into Zoom that most users never think twice about.
Zoom is a great product. It enables connectivity and interaction with people the world over. And during COVID, it definitely added a ton of value to people's lives. But it has so many features in it that I don't think everyone knows what it can do.
Things like remote access.
There's actually this IT remote support feature that's built into Zoom that allows somebody else to take control of your screen, your keyboard, your mouse, and basically just sort of look over your shoulder and work on your computer.
We've talked about this in the past, in previous episodes.
It was just sort of a shockingly easy trick to play that only requires social engineering, and it gets you code execution out the other end.
It only takes 2 clicks and looks a lot like some of the day-to-day pop-ups you get on Zoom.
You have to go into your system settings in macOS and specifically allow the Zoom application to like interact with the computer, record your screen, whatever. But that's a process that I think a lot of people have been sensitized to. And I don't think people know what that really means when they flip those settings.
The hackers leverage people's general confusion about technology by adding some expert social engineering. And their first step? Pressure.
And they're adding this time pressure of like, hey, we need to go to recording.
Next, some ego stroking.
They're saying you're so important to talk to. We know all the great work that you've done, and like this is going to be great exposure for you. It's Bloomberg, it's huge. And they just lean into it and lay it on pretty thick right away. And you feel really good about yourself. Like, somebody finally noticed me.
And they use that to get inside your computer without you even knowing.
And a lot of people, I think, are willing to take that step and just click these buttons because they don't know what they actually do once they click them.
When we come back, we follow Dan into the blockchain trenches, where hackers are hoping to trick their unsuspecting victims into handing over millions. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Lauren Good. I'm a senior writer at Wired.
I'm Michael Calori, Wired's Director of Consumer Tech and Culture.
And I'm Zoe Schiffer, Director of Business and Industry, and we're the hosts of Wired's Uncanny Valley.
It's a show about the people, power, and influence of Silicon Valley.
Every week, we get together to talk about how technology and culture from the Valley are influencing our everyday lives.
The internet really was no longer about the early days. It was about minting money.
He was swapping out the hoodie for a suit.
And it just became like the shorthand for, I'm the Silicon Valley hustle coder guy.
Or we'll dive deep into the history of some of Silicon Valley's most important institutions and figures.
So a lot of people point to parallels between Sam Altman and Steve Jobs.
Very good for engagement for Meta, for its bottom line, possibly or probably bad for humanity.
I don't know if there's any single person that I would trust with this.
Whether you're optimistic or absolutely terrified about what Silicon Valley will do next, this is the podcast for you.
We'll be there to bring the analysis and reporting you can only get from Wired.
Listen to and follow Wired's Uncanny Valley wherever you get your podcasts.
Hackers like the ones that targeted Dan Guido are usually looking for something really specific, a crypto wallet. And the reason is simple. It potentially offers a way to make a lot of money really fast.
The community of attackers out there have realized that if you socially engineer somebody or get malware on their computer, the path to getting a payout is instantaneous. You don't have to navigate through a big company to find the secret formula to Coke, like buried 10 levels deep in some Active Directory domain. Instead, you've just got a single person's computer that has a private key on it, and as soon as you read it, you can go grab $2 million.
So in the beginning, hackers exploited what used to be a vulnerable corner of crypto wallet tech, something called smart contracts, which sounds like something dreamed up by a Silicon Valley marketing department after a few too many lattes, but really, it's just bits of code. Small, self-executing programs written onto the blockchain that essentially say, if X happens, then do Y. Imagine a vending machine. You put in your dollar, press B7, and you get your nacho cheese Doritos. No cashier, no small talk, no tip. That's a smart contract.
I think about them as like little finance bots. They follow their instructions and they can't do anything else. So, you could have smart contracts that provide loans, right? Anything you could imagine a piece of software doing, they'll do it.
And a lot of smart contracts are wallets where people store crypto tokens. So they can be targets. Hack them and...
It's like a financial piñata. And if you hit them hard enough and you find a way to exploit a vulnerability in them, you get all the cryptocurrency stored inside.
So hackers went after them as a sort of low-hanging fruit. But these days, smart contracts are, well, smarter.
They're no longer cardboard piñatas. Now they're made out of steel. People are writing smart contracts that are pretty reasonably complex. They're like multiple thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of lines long. So now it is harder to hack a smart contract on a blockchain than it is to just go after people's laptops and steal their private keys. And that wasn't true for the last 5 or 6 years. That really only flipped, I'd say, a couple months ago.
It's become so much harder to hack a smart contract that hackers have had to innovate with things like this Zoom hack. And in a lot of ways, it's easier to just go after someone's laptop and steal their private keys than to try to hack a contract. Humans are a lot easier to fool.
I mean, I feel like we've got enough evidence out there. Enough people have been hacked where this seems to be pretty clear.
So if you're into crypto, how do you protect yourself? Dan has some words to the wise.
The number one piece of advice that I always give is just separate your crypto wallet from the device you use every day. I think a single-purpose device, some cheap Chromebook that you use to access your giant holdings of cryptocurrency is the most appropriate strategy. You shouldn't have $2 million or whatever it is at risk every time you talk to some guy on Discord.
Trail of Bits has been getting more calls lately. People in crypto suddenly interested in training around operational security, which is good. But Dan Guido says that's not enough.
The effectiveness of these techniques don't really go down. There are always people out there that haven't seen and internalized this information. And, case in point, the Twitter accounts that contacted me, they're still up. They're seemingly still active. They are Twitter accounts you could talk to right now. And I would bet that there have been additional victims from those same 2 Twitter accounts since Trail of Bits published our blog on it. So I don't see a good reason for them to stop unless somebody actually tracks down who they are and literally arrests the people behind it.
And in the case of Elusive Comet, Dan thinks arrests may be coming. The FBI is investigating, and the hackers are believed to be based in the West, maybe even somewhere inside the United States. Because while crypto might be mostly anonymous, it isn't completely untraceable.
I think the privacy protections on blockchains are notoriously porous, that In a lot of cases where somebody really applies all the effort available to figure out who did what transaction, you can generally track it down. There's also all kinds of operational security mistakes that happen from an attacker perspective too. If you have a single transaction or a single interaction with some company that you're trying to hack that exposes your identity, that information usually just lives out there forever. You can't take it back. So the likelihood over the long term that these guys get caught is probably pretty high in my mind. So enjoy your stolen cryptocurrency while you can, because I don't assume that this is going to last forever.
So what do we take away from Dan's experience? Maybe it's this. Security threats aren't just about code. They're about human frailty, ego, urgency, a momentary lapse in skepticism. So install all the cybersecurity you want, but also keep your skepticism and that ego of yours in check. From Recorded Future News, this has been Click Here's Mic Drop. It was written and produced by Zach Hirsch, Megan Dietrich, Sean Powers, Erica Gaida, Lucas Riley, and me, Dina Temple-Raston. It was edited by Karen Duffin. We'll be back on Tuesday with an all-new episode of Click Here. Thanks for listening, and have a great weekend.
If you're looking for a daily guide to cybersecurity news and policy, sign up for the Cyber Daily from Recorded Future News. It serves up the day's most interesting and important cyber stories from our sister publication, The Record, and then aggregates all of the big cyber stories you might have missed from news outlets around the world. Just go to therecord.media and click on Cyber Daily to get all you need to know about the world of cybersecurity right in your inbox.